Matt Sonicson here with Championship Combines and Athletic Recruiting Counselors. Today I'm going to be reviewing our boys recruiting information talk that I provide at the many recruiting combines that Championship Combines hosts each year. Usually when the athletes head to the courts, I'll stay with the parents in the lobby to provide some recruiting information to help them with the process. We typically provide this recruiting handout, which has a lot of really good information for families to understand how to manage the process and what the current rules and scholarship limits are. Without fail, we'll have parents coming up after the recruiting information talk to ask if we're able to visit with the student athletes, with the boys when they're done with the combine. We don't visit with the players just because we don't want to keep them on the courts longer than 90 minutes. It's the day before a national qualifier or a big boys tournament. The athletes are a little tired, they're hungry, they've got matches the next morning. So now we're finally putting this on video so parents that attended can get a reminder of this good information. The parents that weren't able to attend, we understand you got to check into hotels, things are busy. Maybe there's a happy hour that's more interesting than sitting in a convention center. But most importantly, we want to have this information for the athletes so they can be involved in the process. A little bit about my volleyball background. When I was young and athletic, I played volleyball at UCLA. We won 2 national championships when I was there. I was selected as a 3-time All-American, and I was the MVP of the national championship my senior year. After UCLA, I joined the United States national team, played professional volleyball in Europe, and finished my playing career by being a touring member of the AVP Professional Beach Tour. After my playing days came to an end, I transitioned into coaching. I spent almost 20 years as an NC2A Division I volleyball coach, including 15 years as a head volleyball coach. I have also spent time as an NAIA head coach and an NCAA Division II head coach. My father was a Division III head volleyball coach for almost 20 years. So pretty much my whole adult life, one way or another, has been involved with college volleyball and recruiting. As we start to review the flyer, which we will put up on the screen, along with attaching as a PDF, families need to keep in mind how competitive college volleyball recruiting is for boys. There are more and more club teams being added every year for boys volleyball. States are now sanctioning boys volleyball for state championships. We're seeing a huge growth in the numbers, but that hasn't been mirrored by colleges adding the sport. D1s are not adding men's volleyball. D2s and AIAs, D3, there's been a few additions, but it's not like 50 or 100 are being added each year. What this means is that the recruiting process is very competitive. Your son has 50 twins out there that are the same height, the same ability, the same skill sets, and want the same collegiate experience. And it really comes down to what families are active and engaged and working hard in the process. The first section that we're going to review is the NC2A Division I recruiting rules. Now, we use the NC2A Division I rules just because they're the most comprehensive and restrictive. Now, even though the D2, D3, and NAI divisions are not bound to the NC2A Division I rules, they tend to follow the same protocol. Simply because outside of Division I, a big part of your scholarship is going to be carried by academics and upperclassmen grades have more impact than lower classmen grades. Also, boys physically and mentally mature at a later stage than the girls. So a lot of the men's programs want to see how physically bigger, stronger, faster you become, which is more apparent as a junior and senior than a freshman and sophomore. If you are a freshman or sophomore, NC2A Division I coaches cannot contact you. Okay. As listed in the rules here, they can send a introductory letter and a questionnaire along with camp information, but they can't contact you other than that. You can write them, you can email them, you can send them videos. But if you go to their campus as a freshman or sophomore, they can't talk to you. You can do a campus tour, you can walk around the athletic department, but you cannot engage with the coach. Please remember though, because I can't talk to you doesn't mean I'm not recruiting you or evaluating you. So stay engaged, but understand it's going to be a one-way street your freshman or sophomore year. Now, one bit of information that college coaches can send you is their college camps. Be aware the role of college camps when it comes to recruiting. Now, men's volleyball is a little unique because compared to women's volleyball, the budgets are terrible, even for the Division I schools. So, in theory, college camps for men's volleyball have a little bit more of an impact specific to recruiting, but you shouldn't be attending a college camp exclusively for recruiting, especially if you have never heard from that coach, or if the only bit of information you get is camp information, especially as an upperclassman. If you've been engaged, if you've been sending out emails and videos, you should be hearing from schools that you could be playing at, and getting a camp invite from them makes sense. But if you're only getting camp invites from schools you've never heard of, or you don't think you can play there, that's probably not the best use of your money for recruiting. College camps can be a great experience, meet new volleyball people, get on a college camp, get some high level training, take a volleyball vacation. That's fantastic. But be very aware that just because a school can send you camp literature doesn't mean that they're recruiting you for their school. Now, let's talk about juniors and seniors. This is also, if it's the summertime, rising juniors and seniors. Basically, after June 15th, between your sophomore and junior year, your rising junior year, it's all open. We can call, we can text, we can Instagram, we can DM, you can come see me on campus. I can do a home visit. I can bring you in for an official visit. Official visit means I pay for your flight and your travel. You can come in for an unofficial visit to campus and visit. An unofficial visit means that you're paying for the travel to come to my school, but it's all on. It's important to understand that when you get to be a junior, you really, really need to be active at all levels. Even though these rules are specific for Division I, Division II, NAIA, and D3 will ramp up their engagement into your junior, senior year because now they've got a better idea of your skill level and your grades. Now, let's go ahead and move into the next section, which is the number of volleyball programs per division or governing body and the scholarships available. So jumping into Division I, there are approximately 30 Division I men's volleyball programs. Now, this is a significant reduction compared to women's volleyball programs. It's just the reality of where we are as a sport and the sponsorship of colleges. So there's 30 programs in the country, and on those 30 programs, each program can award 18 scholarships. Now, I want to be very clear. A program can award 18 scholarships. Recently, the scholarship limit was 4.5. New legislation that came out within the last 2 years moved women's volleyball in Division I to 18 scholarships and men's volleyball to 18 scholarships. Just like D1 women's, not every school is going to move to 18. On the men's side, maybe UCLA, SC, Penn State, maybe they go to 18 scholarships immediately, but the majority of schools probably aren't going to go to 18. So be aware, it says 18, but that's on paper. That might not be the reality. More important than the scholarship limit is the roster limit. As part of this new legislation that came out, there's only 18 athletes that can be on the team. Now, this is kind of a big change for men's volleyball. Men's volleyball at a lot of schools carried a larger roster. They had practice squads, they had training squads. I know when I played, we had 20 to 30 guys in the gym training for volleyball. Now, those days have ended. So if you're trying to be a Division I athlete and play men's volleyball, it's almost more important to get that roster spot. And then the scholarship, the athletic scholarship, is the icing on the cake. So be aware, especially as a walk-on, there may not be opportunities that have nothing to do with your talent or your desire. Sometimes it becomes a numbers game for the college coaches. So let's look at Division II men's volleyball. There are over 40 programs, and we are seeing a few programs added to this division. Now, they offer 4.5 scholarships with no roster cap. Now, Division II is highly competitive. The biggest difference between Division II and Division I is 4 to 5 inches. It really comes down to height and how high you play. It's very competitive. The kids work hard. It's a great collegiate experience. Now, they have 4.5 scholarships, and this is where academics and non-athletic scholarship money really plays a big part, because as a Division II student athlete, you're able to package. You can put together academic, athletic, merit, big brothers, big sisters, save the whales, or grants like the Pell and the FAFSA. Division III is actually the largest division for men's volleyball with 140 plus teams. Now, we are seeing more and more teams being added at the Division III level because honestly, it can be a revenue driver for the school. They know if they offer men's volleyball, they might get 20 applications, might get 20 students to commit to come to the school and pay the tuition and fees than not offering. Now, Division III volleyball offers no athletic scholarships. It's the same for all Division III sports. They're not allowed to offer athletic scholarships. They can offer academic, merit, and need-based. Once again, your grades are going to be a big driver in supporting your scholarships. Now, Division III is very much the brain division. This is the division where academics are primary. When my father was a Division III coach, even though it was on the women's side, school is the driver. These are future doctors, future lawyers, future scientists. They're going to be in school many hours a day in labs and projects, but they still want to play volleyball. So keep an eye on Division III. It has the most number of schools. It can be a great fit for many, many families. So those are the NC2A divisions. Now let's move to a completely different governing body, the NAIA. NAIA is the National Association for Intercollegiate Athletics, completely different governing body. It's very similar to Division II in terms of the playing level, in terms of the time commitment, but where it beats Division II is NAIA. Men's volleyball can offer 8 scholarships, 8 athletic scholarships per team. Now, we are seeing NAIA programs being added for men's volleyball. And once again, that's a function of driving enrollment, driving revenue for the school. With NAIA, you're going to be looking at packaging your scholarships, academic, athletic, merit, and need based, and they don't have any roster limits. The NAIA is a very high level. They'll play D2 teams, they'll play Division III teams. Sometimes in a tournament, they might play a Division I team. So it can be a great opportunity for your athlete. And the last collegiate playing level is junior colleges. Now, there are over 30 colleges at the JC level. The majority of those colleges tend to be in California and the West Coast, with a few outliers. Keep in mind that junior colleges in California do not offer athletic scholarships. Okay? They offer academic, merit, and need based, but they don't offer athletic scholarships. The nice thing about JCs is they are inexpensive to attend compared to four-year schools. Even if you're coming from out of state to play in a JC, typically it's still going to be cheaper than a four-year school. JCs can be a great stepping stone. Don't think that it's a dead end or you play 1 or 2 years and you're done. Many players start at the JC level and then transfer to a four-year school. The attractive thing for junior college players with regards to four-year college coaches is when you bring in a JC kid, you're bringing in a 20-year-old. You're bringing in a kid who's been playing for 2 years, who's bigger, stronger, faster than a typical freshman, and they've got experience under their belt. So the JC recruiting process, straightforward. You still want to engage, you still want to send out videos, and keep in mind you're going to play there a year or two and then re-engage the process and try and hook up with a four-year school. Now we're going to move on to the next section of the handout, which is really guidance for how to manage the process. Some suggestions about talking as a family to figure out what schools are your best fit. Not every school is going to be a good fit for your son, and your son isn't going to be a good fit for every school. So I put together an acronym, GAAS, G-A-A-S. This is a conversation that you should be having as a family that'll help guide your outreach and communication with college coaches. So G, the most important thing is, geographically speaking, where are you comfortable as a family with your son going off to college? Now, we don't have the sheer volume of schools for men's volleyball like there is for women's volleyball, but we do have the opportunity to play coast to coast, from Hawaii to New York City, from Texas to Illinois. Figure out geographically where you're comfortable as a family. If you want to stay somewhat close to home, great. There's probably a school within a couple hours of where you live. Or does your son want to get out there and explore the world? If you're comfortable with him going cross country to go to school, fantastic. That is going to determine your outreach, because if you're not comfortable with your son going to school in New York and you're from California, you should not be engaging or responding to schools on the East Coast that reach out or see you play at a tournament. The first A in GAAS is athletic ability. Now, with club, you often can play up. My 15-year-old's a stud, he's playing 17 open, or my 16-year-old is super tall, he's playing 18 open. That's great, but that's club. You need to figure out your athletic ability for collegiate athletics, because in college, you don't play up, you play down. If you're good enough to play at UCLA or Hawaii or Penn State, you can play down to a Division II school. You can play down to a low D1 school. You can play down to a D3 or NAIA school. You can always play down. But if your skill sets are as a 6-foot outside hitter with a nice jump, good ball control, good strength, great teammate, fantastic. You could have a really nice NAIA career. You could be all conference. You can go to the national championship. You can have a great experience, but you're not going to play Division I volleyball. So figure out what your athletic ability is for college volleyball, because that'll determine who you reach out to. The second A is academics. Important to figure out academically what you're interested in as a family. What does your son want to study? If he doesn't know exactly what he wants to study, and hey, it's tough for a 16, 17, 18-year-old kid to know what they want to be for the rest of their lives. When I was at UCLA, my counselor came up to me from the athletic department at the end of my junior year and said, "You have to declare a major or you're not going to graduate." I really didn't know what I wanted to do. So it's common not to have all the answers, but you kind of got to know your kid. Is he a right brain or left brain kid? Is he writing the next Star Wars trilogy, going to be the next big Hollywood director? Or is he in the garage blowing up squirrels? Is he doing experiments? Does he like science? You've got to figure these things out, because if your child isn't comfortable in a STEM school, then going to, you know, New Jersey Tech is not going to be the best fit. So have these conversations, figure out, even if it's a big picture, academically, where are you leaning? And then the S of gas is socially. What type of social environment are you going to be most comfortable with as a family? And remember, you're not going to sleep a lot as a parent, especially your kid's first or second year in college. So does your son want the big school, big city, big environment, huge campus, football and concerts and lots of things going on? Or does he want a smaller, quieter experience where maybe the pumpkin spice latte coming out is the big deal and he's going to go with his buddies there to study and do some homework? So figure out the social environment you want. Even though men's volleyball doesn't have the sheer number of choices as women's volleyball, there's still big schools and small schools. There's still suburban campuses. There's still city center campuses, and there's country campuses. So figure out socially what you're comfortable with as a family. Now, this gas conversation is not a one and done. It's a continual conversation that occurs on the way to school, going to grandma's house, coming back from a club tournament. This is a continual conversation because your son's going to evolve as he matures from a freshman to a junior to a senior. Understand that the majority of men's volleyball athletes confirm or commit with their schools their senior year of high school. Now, sure, there's that unicorn kid that's 6'10" and grabbing the rim that committed to UCLA as a freshman. Understand that most athletes, it's going to be your senior year. That doesn't mean you start as a senior. Volleyball's too competitive. Men's volleyball tends to use a large number of international players. So not only is your son competing against the 50 twins here in the United States, there's a number of international players that are also vying for that opportunity. So let me circle back to what I talked about at the beginning, how competitive things are. You have to work hard as a family. Even though it's highly competitive, there are opportunities, but I see it happen all too often. Good players from good families that don't put in the work, that aren't engaging, that aren't reaching out to the right schools, that aren't sending fresh video, those are the kids that get left in the process. The families that are successful are the ones that are actively engaging. We got to let go of the old school mentality. Oh, I'm a good athlete. I play club. I'm going to go off and play college. That's 40 years ago. Volleyball has become way too popular on the boys' side to just assume that it's all going to work out. Hopefully this information helped you understand the process a little bit and some of the opportunities. Now, I know it can be overwhelming. Multiple kids in the family, they all play sports, both parents are working, life has gotten busy. Now, we have a sister company, our athletic recruiting counselors is a small, hands-on, family-focused recruiting service. We have a 99% success rate with putting our student athletes into their preferred school with scholarship support. We take care of the grind work. We remove your stress. We work hand in hand to achieve your goals. If you would like to visit about the support, scan the QR code that's on your screen. Just scan that. That'll actually pull up my calendar. We'll get on the phone. We'll visit about your goals, your challenges, what you're looking for in college, and I can share if our support can assist you. If you'd like more information, if you'd like to visit about it and see if it could be a good fit, once again, please click the QR code. I'll reach out with an email to confirm your appointment along with a confirmation text, and I look forward to talking to you soon.